Turn over to Ryan.
Chair, my TV star.
Mr. Chairman.
The question would be, the No, he's not going to be on for transportation. He will be on for TMS.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's now 4 p.m. on May 23rd, 2023. I'd like to welcome you all to the Richland County Transportation Ad Hoc Committee meeting. This meeting will now come to order, so Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Brenham, Livingston,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Walker,
Here.
Mackey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And let the record reflect that I did speak with Councilman Branham, and he indicated that he would be away today, out of town, actually, on business. Next item on the agenda is item 2, approval of the minutes from the March 28th, 2023 meeting. Any changes, additions, or deletions to those minutes? There being none, entertain a motion for approval.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 3, adoption of the agenda. Any changes, additions, or deletions to the agenda, Mr. Director, Maloney?
No, sir.
All right. Entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
So move to properly second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Livingston,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 4, items for action. Item 4A, which is the Innovista Phase 3 project funding. Director Maloney, you recognize, sir.
Thank you, sir. This item had been voted on previously by council in more of a general way and not knowing what the final amount would be. And with new members, I'd been discussing this with Administrator Brown, who indicated bring it back to through the committee. And this item, after we have completed construction and the only thing remaining is a known retainage with the general contractor, we were able to calculate out the remaining balance of $4.5 million to be used for Phase 3. So this project was allowed previously to go to the referendum amount of $50 million for Phase 1, 2, and 3. With Phase 1 and 2 now behind us, the remaining balance that would be used for the city to manage Phase 3 of Innovista would be $4.5 million. The city will manage but draw through reimbursement from the county as expenses are incurred.
Director Maloney, any questions?
Yes.
You recognize Mr. Livingston.
Because he kind of partly answered my question. I don't know why this is back and forth, because actually we seldom voted on this, and I thought it was clear that we just provide whatever the remaining amount that was left.
That's what I thought as well. We voted on it previously, but Brown has his hand raised. You recognize Mr. Brown?
You did take action on this, but if you recall, if you go back into the minutes or look at the details, there was an amount that was given. That amount was roughly $4,088,000, and so now the amount that we're talking about is roughly about $4.5 million. I did speak with the county attorney, and because that amount was generally what you were considering it as a part of that discussion, because it was given as a specific amount, we felt that though it was appropriate just to come back and have you authorize up to that $4.5 million. So again, in theory, the general idea was approved, but because there was an associated amount that was tied to the information that you voted on, we wanted to be clear that this is the remaining amount. Now we know what it is, and we would like for you to authorize up to the $4.5 million to be utilized for in the Vista Phase 3. So that's the difference, Mr. Chair and Mr. Livingston. So there was the conversation, there was discussion, there was a vote, but the amount was less than what is the final amount, and I would not be able to give those funds because the council took a vote for an amount that represents less than that amount. So we'd have to come back separately then and ask you for the difference. So I just thought this would be a cleaner way to address the issue, sir.
Makes sense. Additional question? And you recognize Ms. Mackey?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Maloney, can you confirm, have they already submitted for grant funding? Do you know?
I do not know the answer to that. I'm not aware of them submitting for any new grants. What has been public on it is that there was about a $9 million fund that may have been legislative or otherwise that would be matched to this.
Thank you.
Questions from the body? Item?
Actually, I do have one, Mr.
Councilman
Chairman.
Weaver, you recognize Mr. Weaver?
Thank you. Ms. Maloney, so after this project, is there anything else that the penny is funding left in the Vista? I mean, is there any other big projects? I'm not talking about sidewalk here or there, but
No, sir.
this
would be
is
the
it.
final
This is the last big penny project
in that area.
in the Vista. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Waiting.
Move.
Yes, sir.
Have to be specific, Mr. Brown, or is the motion sufficient from, as stated by
I believe the
Mr.
motion is sufficient, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? There being none, Madam Clerk, take the vote.
Livingston. Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Next item on the agenda is item 4B, the proposed Chapter 21 Dirt Road Paving Ordinance Amendment. Director Maloney, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to take you back to the a prior meeting that was in the minutes and when we discussed other methods for dirt road paving. And we talked about kind of a more proactive way of recognizing the residents that want to see their dirt road paved, maybe a little bit over those that don't. And currently, we're looking more positively at those that don't. So this would take us to our recommended action, which is essentially eliminating a sentence in Chapter 21 that allows 25% or more of the property owners to decline a road paving project. And so we wanted to point that out that way, that as little as 25% could end paving a dirt road. And sometimes those residents may have another access point, say to a state road or a county road that's paved. So that is our recommended action here. We also handed out, that came from our county attorney's office, a independent document that was handed out today that just gives you the separate section of the ordinance that would override that part of Chapter 21. And that shows the strikeouts on it. The strikeouts are part of Section 4, which indicates removal of
Well, if you look at the attachment, there's an ordinance, a proposed ordinance. It's going to be somewhere over there. Go to page 2.
Yeah.
Got it? Oh, Mr. Brown, it's in you.
This is another-
Help us, old
I read everything that was in my package.
So it-
I'm gonna quote Malinowski in a minute. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to read what I got, I apologize.
Continue on, Director Maloney.
Yes, sir. So on that section 4 of the ordinance, it's in order to incorporate community input before roads are paved, notice shall be sent to the County Transportation Department by mail to all abutting property owners whose property would be affected by any such change. And then that would be the end of the section. It removes a return receipt of the last known address of all property owners will be required. Each such property owner shall have 30 days to respond. If 25% or more of all said property owners decline said road paving, then the subject road shall not be paved. So that would be the ordinance change. The other thing we do in the AB is we reviewed some of the other parts of the ordinance that require no change, but just wanted to confirm with you the elements within it.
Questions from the body? You recognize Mr. Weaver.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Maloney, so if we take out the 25% clause in the latter half of number 4 there, so what kind of feedback do we get from the owners then? We just mail out and say, hey, we're going to pave your road in 60 days and that's it? I mean, I understand that it's lessening the
Right.
requirements for y'all, but I'm concerned that, are we getting any resident feedback then? Or,
Well, if we're going to pave a dirt road, it would be a lot like what we do with resurfacing, which is just put out notices that we're about to do that. This is a capital improvement, and you could say, you know, if as a body you want to see feedback. But the department would be okay with leaving some of that in, like the return receipt, and it does have a time limit of 30 days, which is good.
yeah, I think the time limit's good, right?
But then the last sentence, for sure, we would, and that's what's in our briefing document, to take out that last sentence. That would be the sentence that really creates consent denial.
One more, Mr. Chairman. Sorry, I'm thinking. So in the past, I know you and I have talked about this before. We were in Charleston. So in the past, like, what percentage of owners would actually, you know, not want their road paved? Is that a high? Does it ever get to 25% or?
Some of the dirt roads may have 3 homes on them, so you're at 33% with one person. So,
Oh, I
yeah,
see.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or with one residential home.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so one person could keep the other 2 from getting the whole road paved.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
Or 1 out of 4.
So you're recommending just no percentage at all?
Yes, sir.
Could we keep the 30 days in there, though?
We could keep a receipt for, informational purposes of
Okay.
that position.
Okay. Thanks, Mr.
Councilman
Chairman.
Weaver, and that road goes unpaved, the majority of the homeowners on that road, they don't point to that one homeowner and say that the road was unpaved. They say the county didn't pave my road.
I believe that.
So you recognize Mr. Livingston.
What happens if, let's say, 90% of the folks on the road do not want to pay?
We would bring that to ad hoc if it was that large of a majority.
I remember we just wanted to have one that one time.
Yeah.
Director Maloney, I recall, I think it was our last ad hoc committee meeting when representatives from Horry County, it was that presided over Horry County's road paving program, came and presented. Is this exactly what they did there? They removed that requirement, or did they have a requirement previously in their ordinance that was comparable to this, and then it was ultimately nixed?
That part of it, I'm not 100% sure if they had to remove anything. What they did have, we have, which, and then I just want to restate what we do have. We do have ability to pay for land in our ordinance right now, as long as their value is proper, right? So if the road improvement exceeds the value of the land that we need to put the road upon, they would not be compensated, and that's what the ordinance states.
It benefits.
Right. So they, of course, with that, have more of a sliding scale as far as how the appraisal of the land comes in compared to the cost of the road project. Somebody who lives on the end of the road near the state road or county road that has a driveway on that, they're sometimes blocking these projects as the one person that doesn't want it. Even if it did get through consent denial, there hasn't been previous action to take and pay that person or provide a appraisal and a land acquisition process for it. But our ordinance does read that we could do that. So I don't know if it wasn't done before by, say, policy. I just want to be sure that you understand that we would proceed with that policy, that's as it's written in the ordinance, to go ahead and provide what we'd call just land acquisition services, which would be obtaining the land title report, the appraisal, and presenting that in a negotiation to the landowner. And particularly on the scenario I mentioned, they indicated that in Horry County, they had no benefit. So they would be compensated for the land that was needed for the dirt road to go through.
Mr.
One last quick question. Will this lead to more condemnation costs with our road program?
Yes, sir, because at this point in the dirt road program, I just have to say it's zero now, so it will go up. What we saw with Horry County's results, where they had paved a lot of roads through this policy, it had been less than 0.5% of the program cost. Yes, sir.
Curious, Direct. You don't have to give me an exact number. I guess I would ask, is it pretty frequent, or is it frequent, rather, for a road to go unpaved because you have, this minority, if you will, that objects? Has that happened frequently and has been a barrier to paving
Yes, sir.
roads?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. It was around 20-25% in that neighborhood of consent denial failure.
Okay, thank you. Additional questions? Body. In a motion?
Move adoption of the administrative recommendations, Mr. Chair.
Second. Discussion, additional discussion?
Chairman, I just.
You recognize Mr.
I
Weaver?
just have one quick question. So are we approving everything, taking out everything in red?
Yes.
We are, okay. I'd still like to give people 30 days to respond. We can't modify that, I guess, or?
Mr. Livingston, you want up the friendly amendment to your motion?
Just give the owners 30 days to respond. I can see dropping the 25%, I get that. But I'm just concerned that we're just going ahead and we're not giving folks time.
They thought about it, I mean, they couldn't do anything about it, but you want to know what they thought about it.
Yeah, because he's saying if enough owners opposed it, they would drop it. But we don't know that enough owners opposed it because we're not waiting 30 days to get their feedback. I mean, it may be a rare case, I get that, but.
And that's when I asked the question about whether or not the tenant voted. I don't know how you didn't have tenant.
Mr. Chair.
Well, I just think it's important to get the property owner's feedback, that's all.
Mr. Wright?
Yeah, I don't think that anything keeps the property owners from giving the feedback or from, when they get the notice. I mean, yeah, you can't wait 6 months, of course, but as far as the time limit, it's not like the road is going to be paved within the next week or, of the notice. So I'm not sure if that's going to make a big difference in that part. So.
Well, if they're making plans on engineering and lining up asphalt dealers, they can't hear about it 2 weeks before they lay asphalt. I think 30 days is reasonable. I just think owners should have some time frame in there.
Staff,
Recognize Mr. Maloney.
thank you, sir. We actually, I would like that for that reason, so that it does put a time limit in the ordinance.
Accepting a friendly amendment, to Mr. Lewis's motion, which, includes language, each owner shall have 30 days to respond.
Mr. Chair.
Mr.
So just clarification, by adding a 30-day time limit, what happens if they respond at day 45? Because now, we didn't have a time limit before, and now we're putting a time. So what happens? Do we ignore their response, or?
The time limit was in there, ma'am. That-
Conley was in there previously.
Yes, ma'am.
Still in there, each.
No, I'm saying he proposed taking it out. Does that make sense?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. So
That was a proposal, but now Director Maloney is saying he feels comfortable leaving the time limit in there, but removing,
25%.
the other language that pertains to the 25% or more.
correct. And my question is, what happens if you hear at day 45? Now, because now we do have a time, whereas before you did not. So now when you put a time limit in place and someone misses that time limit, what happens?
Honor the ordinance.
Right.
That's what we do. If they don't submit their response within 30 days, when you were given notice, and I'm quite sure if the notice goes out from the Transportation Department, there should be some language in there that says you should have 30 days to respond. So if they don't respond within 30 days, then, they are, it's unfortunate for them.
Director Maloney, are we operating that way right now?
We haven't put out notices for new roads in a long time because of the consent denial problem. But I'd say yes, then the notice we have does indicate, when it's sent to the owner, that they have 30 days to respond.
And I'm assuming, Director Maloney, that they are responding within 30 days, which is why you're getting the consent denials, right? They're responding.
In the past, yes,
Right.
when it occurred.
Yeah, okay. No discussion on this item? Okay. Clerk, take the vote.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Mackey.
Yes.
Motion approved.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 5. This is items for information, resurfacing package T, small contract for drainage improvement. Director Maloney, you're recognized.
Thank you, sir. Resurfacing package T is a long list of our roads, and I believe we provided that in the packet on the last page. And on there is one of the roads, Signal Lane. Signal Lane was discovered to have a drainage problem while it was under construction. Our general contractor is a large paving outfit that could do underground, but they didn't really want to do this project as far as fixing that drainage. And so after some delay, they did give us an estimate of $121,000, a little over that, to do the work. And they also indicated that it would likely delay the project, and they would certainly wait to the end of the project even to begin that work. So the way Signal Lane is right now, they had gone out and removed damaged curb, which was part of the scope of the project. We had Public Works come in and put some stone chips in place of that to allow the drainage to continue in a less than fully desirable situation. But we wanted to keep that moving, so we hired a small contractor to come in under emergency procurement to get in there and get that part done. That was for $86,387.36. The contractor just started about a week ago digging into it and replaced one of the inlets, and they're into all kinds of high ground rock and rubble that apparently was placed into the nice green island that we were going through to put the storm sewer in. So they did have a request for a change order of $70,500 to do the complete soil exchange as they're going through. And we had approved that to keep them working. They've been out working this week, continuing the project. And we didn't really have, at that time, council linking this particular sub-project to the contingency that we would have had, using the general contractor. So we wanted to bring that in and just know that we were acting in good faith to keep the project moving and get that done for our residents. But we're following our procurement laws as far as the emergency procurement and the change order amount being high. We want to bring that in and present that to you to understand what we just had approved at the staff level.
Questions from the body before I acknowledge Mr. Brown? All right, Mr. Brown?
Just briefly, Mr. Chair, thank you, Director Maloney. This really was just an opportunity for us to make sure that we are living up to the standards that we set for ourselves as being open and transparent. This was certainly a situation that the staff could not anticipate, but there are procurement rules, and we want to make sure that we communicated this because this was something to do to keep the project going. But if there anyone that came up later on wondering, who had an opportunity, why did this happen this way, why do we take these steps, I wanted it to be very public and very available to you as members of the body as to why the staff chose to do this. I did approve that. For the purpose of, so that's why this is being presented. That's why we asked to add it to the packet. And that's why it came to you the way that it did. So while it doesn't require a specific council action, I felt as though that's our standard of integrity, and I wanted to make sure that we had it on a record for you so that you were clear as to what happened and how it happened and move on from there, Mr. Chair. So certainly we'll take any questions that you all have about that decision or just anything you might want to add, but that's why I had the staff put it on and add it to the agenda, and I appreciate you all allowing that to happen.
Questions from the body? There being none? All right, thank you, Director. Item on the agenda. Adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Need some enthusiasm.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. It's been
I'll
moved.
second that, Mr. Chair.
All right, it's non-debatable, Madam Clerk.
Livingston.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
Walker. Yes. Mackey. Motion approved.
Adjourned.